All right, buckle up because you're about to hear the kind of story that makes you question everything you thought you knew about justice, power, and just how far some people will go to get their way. I never thought my life would turn into a courtroom drama, much less one where the villain drove a white BMW and wore tennis skirts that probably cost more than my first car. But here we are. So, picture this. County courthouse steps, sharp at 10 a.m., and there's Karen. Yes, that Karen, screaming, "This is illegal," while I calmly signed the paperwork to buy her precious clubhouse out from under her for $325,000. 3 years earlier, this same woman tried to fine my family $15,000 for a dock my grandfather built with his own hands, back in 1953. She claimed our old Korean War vet cabin didn't meet her aesthetic standards. You can't make this stuff up. Karen Whitmore, HOA president, French manicure, and a moral compass that spun like a roulette wheel, thought she could steamroll a guy like me. But what she didn't know was, while she was busy lawyering up and playing queen of the cul-de-sac, I was quietly unearthing the one thing she never bothered to check. She never legally owned the property she was lording over. Today, she pays me rent for the tennis courts in her own neighborhood. Let that sink in. But let's back up. My name's Dan, and my story starts with a 2-acre lakefront cabin my grandpa Joe built after coming home from Korea. The place smells like cedar and old wood smoke, the kind of comfort you only find in a house with stories in the walls. After a rough divorce that took half of everything I had, this cabin was my last anchor. Mine with water rights predating any of those million-dollar McMansions that cropped up around the lake. I thought I'd finally found peace. Then one sunny morning, here comes Karen, BMW purring up my gravel drive, clipboard in hand, tennis outfit bright enough to guide planes in for a landing. She had Steve with her, her HOA sidekick, a guy whose main talent was nodding on cue. She didn't waste any time. "Your dock doesn't meet our new community standards," she chirped, voice as sweet as vinegar. "That's a $15,000 compliance fee. Or else." I almost spit out my coffee. "Lady," I said, "my dock's been here since Eisenhower." She slid a violation notice across the table and flashed that smile folks in real estate use when they're about to sell you something rotten. Here's where things got real. See, I've spent my whole career as a union electrician. I know how to deal with people who think a title gives them the right to push folks around. So I called up Mike, old buddy, union guy, paralegal on the side. "Bring every document you got," he said. 2 days later, he was grinning over coffee, waving legal papers. "Dan, your property predates the HOA by 40 years. They got no claim. Always check your deeds date against the HOAs," he said. "Most folks don't, and bullies like Karen count on that." I wrote Karen a polite letter, clear, respectful, firm. But apparently, no wasn't in her vocabulary. Next thing I know, county code enforcement comes knocking. Random inspection, they called it. The inspector, Jerry, was a good guy, boots on, handshake like a real worker. We ended up swapping stories about Korea. Turns out his dad served too. The kicker? Jerry let slip that this complaint came through unusual channels. "HOA Senangang." So I did a little digging, filed a Freedom of Information Act request, $12 in 3 weeks. Pure gold. 17 emails between Karen and her brother-in-law at the code office. 17. She'd been using family ties to target folks around the lake, picking off the older homeowners first. That's how I met Betty, retired teacher, sharp as a tack. Karen had been harassing her for months, nuisance vegetation, as if daisies were a public threat. Betty had documents for everything. "You learn a document when you teach middle school," she said. Pretty soon, a bunch of us were meeting over coffee, swapping stories. That's when Tom joined, old Coast Guard, new maritime law cold. "Dan, your dock rights are federal. Karen can scream all she wants." The more we dug, the uglier it got. Illegal complaints, targeting vulnerable folks, playing legal games with people who didn't know their rights. Karen, meanwhile, started getting desperate. The more we organized, the harder she pushed. She had me serve a lawsuit, during my own birthday barbecue. Nothing says happy birthday like a processed server and burnt burgers. But all it did was rally the neighborhood. Maria, our accountant neighbor, started digging through HOA finances, found Karen's husband's company pocketing tens of thousands in landscaping fees. Mike, my paralegal pal, dug up 2 ethics violations on Karen's real estate license, both for faking property boundaries. But the real twist? Turns out the original developer of Sunset Ridge had skipped town on $340,000 in environmental fees, and the property transfers were never done right. Meaning the HOA didn't even legally own the common areas. The county did. Maria found the paperwork. Betty and Tom checked the old records. I checked the tax auction calendar. The whole time, Karen's falling apart, meltdowns at parties, drunken rants caught on my digital recorder. Legal, by the way, one-party consent in Ohio. The cherry on top? She tried to bribe me. 50 grand to walk away and drop all this legal nonsense. Got that on tape, too. Then came the final blow. County announced a tax auction for all the common property, clubhouse, tennis courts, everything Karen thought was hers to boss people around. I had the funds, I had the paperwork, I had the team. Auction day came, and it was pure theater. Karen screeching in the courthouse parking lot, her husband whispering frantically as the auctioneer called out bids. Final gavel, $325,000, sold to yours truly. The look on Karen's face you ever see someone realize, in real time, they just lost everything? It's unforgettable. The sheriff handed her an eviction notice on the spot. My lawyer grinned like a kid at Christmas. And me? I kept the clubhouse open for everyone, cut dues, started late cleanup days. Property values shot back up. Betty ran for HOA president and won in a landslide. Karen lost her real estate license, had to move across town, and now works at Bradley's Hardware. Tom gave her a shot because, well, everyone deserves a second chance. So what's the lesson in all this? Sometimes the people who shout the loudest about community standards are the ones hiding the dirtiest secrets. Justice doesn't always show up in a black robe. Sometimes it's in a flannel shirt, sipping coffee on a front porch, with receipts and a stubborn streak a mile wide. Bullies win when good people stay quiet. But when we stand up, together, they fall. These days, I sit on my dock at sunset, Grandpa Joe's flag waving over the water, thinking about how easy it is for power to go unchecked. The law isn't perfect, but it works a whole lot better when you know how to use it, and when you've got neighbors who've got you back. So, tell me, what's your HOA horror story? Where do you draw the line between rules and abuse, order and overreach? Drop your wildest tales in the comments, because the craziest one just might be the next story we tackle. And hey, hit subscribe, because the fight for justice is only just getting started.